Okay, let's talk about creating snare reverb. A lot of guys like to use the snare bottom, and when I have it, I do too, generally. Although sometimes the snare bottom is just as screwed up as the top. That's just another part of local band recording. Unfortunately, they don't sound like Superior Drummer a lot of times. So we have to kind of get creative. And the cool thing about the snare bottom are all the snares are all just these fizzy, rattly thingamabobs. When you send those, the sound of those to a reverb, it's pretty cool. It's bright. It's not muddy. It goes. It doesn't go boom, which is what happens if you send the snare top generally, which there's almost no top end a lot of times. So one way to make sure that we always have what we need in regard to the snare bottom is to just generate it with Sasquatch Kick Machine. Okay, and that's what I've got here. I started out with this track. Let's bypass Sasquatch and see what we've got. Okay, yeah, and that's the snare top with probably a little bit of reverb on it. Not a whole lot to work with there, and lots of bleed. Blah. Okay, so let's take a listen to this detector here. We'll push the listen button. And I didn't really do much. I got everything under 80 rolled off, but I kind of just left it alone. Looks like I didn't try that hard. This is an easier one than I thought. Okay, and so we'll switch back to the click. And the click here, I've got, I'm using this little squiggly one, this is more the clap sound, as you may recall. Yep, and that sounds a little bit like a snare bottom. I mean, when you solo them, give or take. Most guys don't like blending the snare bottom in at all. Although I do hear that sound a little bit on recording sometimes. Just really depends. Maybe it's more of a room mic thing. Anyway, so generating this is real straightforward. We're basically just generating a clap like we would use for electronic music. The difference here is we're not going to use it for anything but the reverb send. Okay, and so I've got a send right here. Let's make sure it's on. And that's not a world away from what you get from room mics, depending on the room, obviously, but not world away from what you get from room mics spaced far enough where they get a lot of that snare bottom in them. A lot of the snare top stuff kind of gets lost. So what's cool about this now is I don't want to have this injected into this track because a clap sound makes no sense in this particular context. So I switched the send to pre-fader. And I could just use an insert on this particular track and make it 100% wet if I wanted. But I used a send because I did. And so I go pre-fader, and then I just pull the volume all the way down on that fader. So the dry signal is gone, and then we have after the Sasquatch sound go into a reverb, which is on another group, way over here or whatever. Or aux send, anyway. So let's see what we got. Now let's quit soloing. This might get loud. Let's pull it down a little bit. And before we had this. And I'm not generally a fan of too dry of drums. I like a little bit of stuff on there. I don't know if it's because I grew up in the 80s or what, but I just like that. Now, it doesn't have to be insane and over the top, but a little goes a long way. So let's just dial this in now. And that's obviously way too much, although awesome. I would do that if I could. And right there, I'm just using a little bit, but there's something about that adds a dimension, 3D quality, expensive, call it whatever you want, but it caters to my sensibilities of what a snare drum should be. Okay, so just in review here, we took the regular snare top, we threw Sasquatch on top of it, we turned off the direct signal, we turned off the oomph, so all we've got the click. We did almost nothing to the gate, on the detector, so we clicked on edit under direct, and I've done nothing, so who cares? Ignore all that junk. And we went to the click here, and we used more of a clap style, knocked off a little bit of top end with our tone shaping parametric EQ there. Other than that, it was a real straightforward deal. We sent it to reverb, and then by using a pre-fader send, we can pull the volume down. And again, it would have been easier for this video probably just to use that reverb as an insert. Either way. And now we have a really cool snare. Out.